I'd get somebody to check in, call in, and we could talk to somebody that is an actual hands-on user of the Nikon Z7, but that didn't happen. I had an acquaintance, I call him a friend, but he's really just an acquaintance that has a Z7. Unfortunately, he can't join us tonight. He's got other family things he has to do. So I'd hoped he would be on here and we could talk about what, I'll answer some of the questions that you may have about the camera. I've got a few points that I want to go over because I know there are some questions out there. I've seen it in a lot of the forums. I know that Tony Northrup recently did a video talking about the banding issue. It was his review of the camera. And let me start out by saying I'm not typically a fan of Tony Northrup. I mean, he's not a bad guy, but I think that he is biased. I think he's definitely biased towards Canon and Sony. But anyway, that said, I can't argue with his discovery of the banding issue with the Z7. So anyway, is the banding issue a real issue? Well, first off, all the mirrorless cameras seem to have the same issue. So we're not talking about something that's unique to the Nikon Z7. So that's kind of a wash. If it was something that interrupted somebody's workflow, well, hey, then, that's one of those things. It's something you can't work around. It has a direct bearing on whatever it is that you do with the camera, however you use the camera. So anyway, I understand that. I don't think most people will have a problem with the banding. Every generation of camera that comes out will continue to improve. DSLRs, not too many years ago, were having issues as well. One of the things that I did see that I really like was the noise control at higher ISOs with the Z7. And I know there are some conflicting stories out there. Some people are saying that it's not quite as good as the D850, and others are saying the opposite. So, but it looks pretty good to me. I don't know what you guys think from what you've seen. But I wanted to talk about the banding. Is it really going to be an issue for everybody? And if it's an issue for you and it's something that you can't overcome, and I understand why this camera is not for you. But does that make the camera a bad camera? I don't think so. The other thing was, the other few things are the vignetting on the S lenses. I know that there was talk about the close mount flange distance. It would help eliminate the vignetting on lenses. I don't know if Nikon was actually stating that or if it's just something that we expected. We pulled from their comment about their new Z mount. Is vignetting going to be an issue for you? Well, I have lenses that vignette, so for me, and I'm not just being an apologist, I don't worry about it. With software today, that's not a big issue. And not to mention the fact that often for some of the photos that I take and post, I'm doing my own vignetting on those photos as well. Call me a 1980s, 1990s guy when it comes to the vignetting. But anyway, is that a big issue? I don't think that it is. We can only test right now the 24-70S and the 35S, so we don't know what the 50 millimeter is going to do, the 50S, but we'll see here in December as soon as it comes out. But so far, everybody seems to be real happy with the 24-70 for a kit lens, if you will, even though Nikon considers it in the professional line being an S line, S series lens. The IQ on that seems to be fantastic. I've seen quite a few photos, and a lot of people are really happy with the image quality. So there you have it. We'll see how it goes. I'm more interested in the video in both cameras. I opted to get the Z6 rather than the Z7, and I want that for the video performance. Really, I want it for the video AF performance, and we'll see how it goes whenever the Z6 is delivered. I'd hoped that we could talk more about the Z7 tonight, but again, I don't have anybody that wanted to jump in and give us a phone call, and we'd throw them in the live stream and let folks that are out there watching ask questions, you know, from a real user of the camera to dispel some of the problems that we hear about. Okay, so is battery life going to be an issue? I've seen a few comments about battery life, not from users, but people that are considering the camera, and some of them are just trolls looking at the spec sheet and not talking to real users or looking at anything on the internet that shows that battery life really isn't a major issue. I did see one post where a gentleman talked about if he were, let's see, I think it was, what was it, doing time lapse or something like that. He did experience faster than others have experienced, faster than, you know, their experience, battery drop, but I don't know if it's going to be an issue for a regular shooter. Let's see, we have a few people dropping comments. Or let's see, Ontario. All right, Michael. Let's see. So what's that? I know, but I don't see presenters or any presentations. Yeah, this is true. If you're talking about the show from me tonight, well, I had somebody that I thought might call in, and I won't say it was at the last minute, but this morning he did let me know that he had another commitment tonight and he couldn't participate, and he is a Nikon Z7 owner. I'm not real close with the guy. I don't talk to him all the time, but I know him well enough that when I did talk to him, he said he would be happy to do it. Unfortunately, he can't make it. So anybody else that is a user, I did drop a few hints in a couple of places. Anybody that happened to be a Nikon Z7 owner that wanted to participate, I was willing to link up with them and put them on the air so they could answer questions. But so anyway, back to what we were talking about, a couple of the other things. I've seen a couple of people talking about the low light focusing in very dimly lit or very dark settings without turning on the light on the camera to the focus assist light. The camera struggling to focus. This is in the stills mode, of course, the photo mode. And you know what? That may be just part of the EVF life that we're going to live with mirrorless. I'm sure it'll get better as time goes on. I don't know what the experience of the Sony users is, and I have no idea how the Canon EOS R stands up in the low light focusing. So we'll see. I guess there'll be more and more come out about the EOS R later on, other than their brand marketing that paints the camera in a great light, just like Nikon did, and just like Sony does. But once it gets in the hands of the users, we'll get an idea of what the Canon EOS R does. Is it that bad that we can't use the Z7 in low light? I don't know. I haven't played with the camera yet to tell. Anybody out there that has the Z7 and is actually doing photography in very dimly lit scenarios, chime in the chat and let us know what your experience is so far. One of the other things I wanted to ask my friend, or that was going to call in, was the buffer. I know that the buffer clears extremely fast, or I think that it does. I've seen a few videos, but nobody touches on it enough to really explain it. I know that it fills quick, but it also clears quickly. So it would be interesting to know how that is actually working out. I think it was, you know, about a 1 second delay in the buffer's clear. And that has a lot to do with the XQD card as well. So what are your thoughts? Anybody have any information about how fast the buffer's clearing and being able to continue with continuous shooting? General handling, most people seem to be very happy with the camera so far, the camera body. It seems to be pretty comfortable. I know that without the battery grip, and we'll talk about that in a second, without the battery grip, your pinky finger may or may not hang off the end of the camera. I don't know if that's a big issue for anybody. I don't know if it'll bother me. I don't think that it will, but we'll see when I get the Z6 in my hands. If anybody has any experience with that, then jump in the chat room and tell us about it. Let us know what your experience is. Let's see. And a lot of people are pixel peeping photos and talking about the IQ isn't there. One person will say that it's just spectacular. Another will say, well, it's soft. And so that's just user experience, I guess. I don't know that it is all that soft. The photos that I've seen from people that handle the camera, not the reviewers, but just people that have the camera, it seems to be pretty fantastic. I'm really liking it. What else do we have? What else did I want to talk about? High ISO noise. We talked about it. I talked about it in the beginning here for a second. Everything I've seen so far looks pretty good at higher ISOs on the Z7. But if it comes close to the D850 or the D5, then it's pretty daggone good. So even if it's not as good as those two cameras, it's still pretty darn good. So I wouldn't consider that to be an issue. Now, everybody saw the marketing from Nikon, and I think we took away from their marketing what we expected in the camera. And I don't know that, I know a lot of people believe that Nikon somehow misled everybody, and maybe they did. I don't think that they did, but they never said that I can find that the Z7 was going to be a replacement or the D850 in a mirrorless form. They did talk about IQ. They talked about some of the handling and the menus and everything else. And I think so far that's standing to be true. I don't think that that's a problem. But I know that there are people that had in their mind exactly what they wanted, and Nikon, for whatever reason, or not whatever reason, but one little bit or piece is missing in their expectations, and they're not real happy with the camera. If you have the camera and you plan to return it because it doesn't fit your workflow or there's some issue with it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to go around the internet telling everybody, well, I'm returning it because it just doesn't work, or it's, you know, the banding is just so bad or whatever, that's not the case. I mean, it's fine to say it doesn't fit me, but it's still a good camera. And again, you know, if you've had your hands on it enough to talk about it, then by all means, throw a comment in the chat and let us hear about it. So. The video AF, I've seen a few videos now, and the video AF looks fine to me. Now let's jump over to Frono's photo. Jared Polin had it out, and he shot a soccer match, some soccer event or something, and he had a few problems with the camera missing focus. And you know, I have my concerns that maybe he didn't have the camera set up right, because I saw some of the comments and people are talking about, well, what you need to do in that situation is this. And he never explained whether he did that or not. It's, you know, if you had 10 people, excuse me, on the sidelines shooting the same event, then you'd get 10 different opinions on how many hits and how many misses there were. And it has a lot to do with handling the camera yourself. So I don't know if that was a great review of the AF on the Z7, but what do you think? We have another YouTuber out there, the Angry Photographer, who is just hell-bent on destroying Nikon for some reason. I think maybe because the guy has never been wrong about anything. All he ever talks about is, you know, all this, you know, it's me, 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 and I told you so, and everything else. But if you call him out on anything, he just kind of shuts down, and he won't address it, or he just eliminates your comment if you actually leave a comment on his page. So anyway, those are the things I wanted to bring up, and I really wanted to talk to somebody that has their hands on the camera. Unfortunately, we can't do that. If anybody would like to participate in another live stream because they have the camera and they've used it, just drop a comment in there. Get in touch with me. I dropped my email in the description. or in one of the comments, just drop me an email and we'll link up. I'll figure out how we get in touch with each other. And you can call in and talk to everybody. We'll talk about and discuss the camera. It's still early enough in its life that a lot of people have a lot of questions, and I do too. And it would be nice to get answers to those questions from somebody that's actually shooting with the camera. So let me see what we got for comments, if any. If anybody's got any questions, let's see. Dave says that his finger does hang off, but after a week he got used to it. Yeah, I can expect that it's not going to bother me with the camera. And if you're running the camera with a small rig or something like that, that probably helps out a lot too. For the video guys, I'm sure that's what they're going to be doing, and it shouldn't be an issue at all. A lot of the disappointment is due from false hopes. Absolutely, Michael. And then that's my point, is a lot of people expected something. They didn't get what they expected or what they wanted. It's kind of like wanting a Ferrari with all the bells and whistles at the price point of a Prius, and a Prius being able to do 210 miles an hour. You're not going to get everything that you want. So you just have to. My wife just walked in, everybody. My lovely wife. I wish I could turn the camera around, show you how beautiful she is. Yeah, I see the comments, honey, so I'm addressing those now. Sorry, folks. I just wanted to get all the other out in the front there. But, all right, Michael, back to your comment. A lot of disappointment due to false hopes. You know, you talk about what people would love for it to have beaten Sony. You know, and I'm not going to lie. Of course I wanted it to be on top of the charts. And that may be terrible, but I wanted that as well. But you know what? I'm not disappointed in what we actually got. It is the first iteration of Nikon's mirrorless. Canon, you know, they're going to have some growing pains as well with their mirrorless line. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure that everything's going to get better from here. And I expect the next iteration of these cameras is going to address a lot of the issues that people are talking about. I don't know if the ergonomics as far as size, I don't think that's going to change. It could. But we'll see how it goes. The banding issue, I don't know that that's anything that's going to be resolved real soon. But we'll see. Again, that seems to be something that's common across all the mirrorless cameras. And I guess it has to do with the sensor readout. So anybody with any expertise there, feel free to chime in and let us know why that banding exists in the mirrorless cameras. Let's see. Yeah, and wanted to beat the D850. I think that maybe there, Michael, the thing is that they wanted the D850 in such a small body, you know, everything the D850 can do in a little bitty body, because, you know, I said in one of my earlier videos, I don't know why it is everybody wants something so extremely small and light, but if that's what you want, then I understand, or I understand that that's what you want. It doesn't bother me how big the cameras are. I've toted a rucksack around in the Army for years and years and years. And I guess I'm just used to being a beast of burden and carrying the weight. But anyway, you're right, though. They wanted everything the D850 can do in the Z version. And actually, let me take that a step further. I think they wanted it to beat the D850. And maybe that was their criteria for an upgrade to the Z7. I don't know. Let's see. Hassan, how you doing, sir? Hello to you too. He says, I just found your channel. Hey, thanks for the subscription to the channel. D3400, great camera. I started with a D5000 about, I don't know what it was, 10 years ago in the digital world, and that was a great camera. And you know, I told that story before. I was running around shooting some events with it. It's got the little tilty flippy screen on it, and the funny thing is I had a few more advanced photographers. I don't know if they were pro or not, but they were making fun of me talking about it wasn't a professional camera because it had that little tilty flippy screen. Well, now the Z7 doesn't have it, and that's an issue. So isn't that funny? Anyway, is that Cocolo 316 from, man, there's got all kinds of words in there I can't pronounce. Mississauga, Canada. Okay. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We're going to try to keep this up. I'm going to actually find a day when I can make the live stream a standard time so that anybody that wants to tune in will at least know when it's coming up. I got to talk to the boss. She just went back upstairs and find out what night she's actually going to give me. And drop a comment and let me know what night would be the best. What time and what day or night would be best. And I'll see if I can make that happen because I'd really like it so that people can get used to a certain day and time and be able to join in. And I definitely want people to join in with the comments because, you know, that's the whole point of doing this is being able to listen to what others have to say, answer questions among yourselves in the chat and everything else. We all grow, we all learn. So that's the intent. All right. And my darling stepdaughter Amanda's in here. She's a Nikon shooter. She hadn't upgraded since the D90, and I'm going to continue to work on her about that. But let's see. Yeah, Michael, talking about the D800 and the D810. Yeah, the D810 being what you thought the D800 should be. But, you know, remember, when Nikon jumped into the high megapixel sensor DSLR game, I think we all thought that that was fantastic. I don't know what the R&D cycle is on these cameras. I don't know where they were, if they thought, okay, we've got the 90% solution with the D800. Let's go ahead and let's get this in the hands of shooters. And then along came the D810, the D800 with the D800E, D800E being just uber sharp with that sensor and no AA filter. The D810, of course, fixed that by, when they came out with the D810, they just dropped the AA filter, and they did add a few more tweaks with the D810. I own the D800. I owned the D810. Now I have the D850. So I got to see the evolution through each body. And a lot of people said that there isn't enough difference between, you know, each evolution to want to upgrade. And that may be true from a professional standpoint if you're shooting weddings and other events and things like that, and you were shooting with the D800. Maybe the D810 really didn't do enough to make you consider an upgrade. I think between the D800 and the D850, there is a significant difference, and obviously an upgrade there is warranted if you can afford it. So anyway, let's see. And my wife says, you photographers are so serious. Yes, we are, dear. Yes, we are. Now you know why I get in these conversations with people. Let's see. Which one's simpler to use? Are you talking about the Z7 and the other DSLRs, Amanda? If so, drop a yes in there and we'll talk about it. You are going to upgrade. Well, that's good. We just got to find the right camera for you. And maybe since you've waited this long, waiting for or jumping into the mirrorless is something that you should consider. I won't push you into Nikon, although you pushed me into Nikon. But I think Nikon's going to do fine here in the future. Oh, so Michael, you jumped from Canon to the D800. Was that because of the increase in sensor or megapixels? Did the 36 megapixel 800 entice you, or was it for some other reason? Drop that comment in there and let us know. I went from the D5000. I bought a D300S, another DX camera, a crop sensor camera, And the D300S was a fantastic little camera. I enjoyed it. I had a great time, shot a lot of photos with it. And I had a decision to make. I wanted to go full frame, jump into the full frame. I didn't want to get too heavily invested in DX lenses because I knew photography was going to be something I was going to stay with because it goes way back for me, even film and developing my own black and white film. But I decided that I wanted to jump into the full frame body because if I was going to build any legacy with glass, I might as well do it in full frame glass. So I bought the D700, which again was a just phenomenal camera for its time. I went with the D700 only because I just couldn't afford at the time a D3 and then the D3S soon after. And I just couldn't justify, even for my wants, not needs, but wants. And I opted for the D700, which turns out was a fantastic camera. I've now sold those cameras. Those are all gone. You know how it is, photographers. You got to sell one thing to get the next. It's just like everything else that we do. But the D700 was a great camera, and from there I upgraded to, believe it or not, a D4. D4, D800 were announced at the same time, and I jumped on the D4. I think I could get my hands on it quicker. And my wife's watching this, so I have to be careful what I say. I found the D4 before I could find the D800, and this is like 2 days after, 2 days after the D4 had begun shipping. And I was shooting some motocross at the time. I actually got to shoot a few pro nationals, and that was a lot of fun. The D4 was a great camera for that. Man, it was just fantastic. I made a comment a few years ago in a forum talking about the colors in the pro body cameras. I thought at the time were so much better than all the other cameras. The D4 color was just fantastic, and I think it beat. Well, I don't know if I've lost everything. Let's see. Sorry, folks. Let me take a second here to see if I've got a problem with my feed or if it's just my camera, or my laptop. Let me see if we're still up and running here. Okay, so you're getting an echo right now, aren't you? All right, maybe I can read the comments on the phone better than I can on the computer, because the computer is definitely way behind, and I think that's the problem. All right, Woody, here you go. Banding. Saw a video today on YouTube. Zoom 200%, no banding. Could banding be caused by the settings you use? I don't know. I wish that we had somebody in here that's actually experienced that and see what they have to say. I know that we can all go look at the comments and the forums and everything else, but it would be nice to have somebody that's hands-on and talking about their actual experience with it. So, it could be. I don't know. I don't know what conditions cause the banding issue. According to Tony Northrup, it was just a matter of pushing the shadows by 6 EV. And if that's the case, I saw a lot of comments talking about, well, just don't underexpose. And I understand, though, and a landscape photographer, I've played with that a little bit, and Tony talked about wildlife photography. If you're shooting birds in the sky, birds in flight, the backlit situation, I know that's a problem, and you're going to have to push the shadows to bring the detail out or expose the underside of the bird or whatever. And the same thing in heavy shadows and landscape photography. I know that's going to be a problem, but 6 EV is really pushing it. Show me a DSLR, even the D850 or the D5, where you don't get some kind of contamination when you're pushing 6 EV shifts in the shadows. If you're a commercial photographer or a photographer that does landscapes and you print large or print and sell, I understand. I guess it could be an issue. For me, I don't see me running into that problem with anything that I shoot. So even if the banding does exist in all situations, then I don't think it'd be a problem for me. But, you know, again, everybody wants everything in a camera. I'm not saying that everybody complaining about the possible banding is doing that to harm the sale of the sales of the Z7. But I think once somebody says, I've identified this, then the influencers and other people, the trolls and everybody are like hawks on top of it. And they will just pounce, and that becomes the major topic for discussion and everything. How come nobody in most of the videos talk about the good points? What's good about the camera? How well it performs? No, we only hear about the bad things. And let me caveat that with, it is good that others point out things so we know, but I'll tell you, I'm going to do my research, and I'm not going to cancel an order on a camera just because one or two people say this is a problem and other people say it isn't a problem. I'm not canceling the order on the camera just because a couple of people are naysayers or whatever. All right, let's see. My wife says Wednesday or Monday she'd rather me do this. What do you guys think? Let's see. Oh, you wanted a full frame too, Mike? Michael, I see that. Yeah. Yeah, I love the DX for zoom and the extra room. You know, you mentioned that, and I bought the D500. I forgot. I haven't mentioned that. I have the D500 as well, which is a great camera. I love it. And I throw that thing on my old D version 400 2.8. And I've got a 600 millimeter rig, and I love that for all my wildlife photos. Shoot a lot of ducks. I've got a wildlife or waterfowl refuge behind my house. Gives me the opportunity to go out there, sit the stool up, and just sit down and, you know, listen to nature and the occasional lawnmower going, you know, somewhere not too far off. But I have quite a few birds back there. I've got a great blue heron that is there quite often, green herons, hawks, ducks of all kinds. I've got some photos of the mergansers, and they're just the hooded merganser, beautiful ducks. Anyway, all right, I digress. But yeah, I got it. I got the D500 just for that purpose, and you know, the speed, the continuous shooting on that thing is just fantastic. It's a great camera. Anybody that wants a rugged camera, and if you're invested in DX lenses other than super telephoto, which would be enhanced with the D500, I'd highly recommend grabbing the D500 now, and you can probably get it fairly cheap. Fantastic camera. You can't beat it. Let's see. Yeah, and of course with the D800 you have the opportunity to shoot it full frame or use the DX mode. So yeah, absolutely. With the D850, I think it helps out a little bit better, a little bit on the DX side. Or you can shoot, well, not in DX. DX is still about 20 megapixel on the D850, isn't it? I think so. I can't remember. Oh, so you got the D500 and the D850 as well. Okay, yeah, well, I've got a D5 also. So I bought the D5, I sold the D4, and this is before I got the D850. Bought the D5 because I did shoot some more motocross, got to shoot a national this year up at Southwick. And man, pro body, I'll tell you, everybody said, well, you don't need the D500 and the D850. Well, you don't need a D5. No, it's not true. If you've never shot with a pro body D4 or lost one of my feeds there, so let me go set that. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Well, there's your 30-minute time limit on the recording on the cameras. If you've never shot with a pro body, you need to, well, I mean, you need to have a reason to do it. But if you're going to shoot any fast action or sports or anything like that, you need to rent one at least, or borrow one if you can find somebody that'll loan you one, and take it out and shoot with it. You can't imagine the difference it makes. It's just fantastic. All right. Reading another comment here. I've got a D5200, good camera. Like I said earlier, I started with a D5000. Upgrade. I think the Z6 is going to be a great camera. Everything you see, all the issues you see right now with the Z7, some of that will be present with the Z6. And when I say issues, I'm talking about the quibbling over little things like the body size and things like that. You're going to see that in the Z6 as well. I think you're going to see a little bit better low light performance with the Z6, having the pixel pitch with the smaller, or the 24 megapixel Vice 47 megapixel. I think we're going to see a little better low light performance with the Z6. And again, the reason I want it is because it's my hybrid camera and it gives me the opportunity to shoot both stills and video. And as of right now, I don't need to worry about the still side of the house. The D850, the D5, D500 do fine. I want it more for the video. So anyway, I think that the Z6 would be great. Let's see. Yeah, the in-body stabilization or lack thereof in the Canon. You know what? Let's talk about that for a minute, because I see your other comments there. Cocolo? I'm sorry if I say that wrong. The in-body stabilization, image stabilization, there were a few influencers that talked about early on. There were just a few comments about how it wasn't really all that good or whatever. But I'm seeing photos that people are taking with the Z7 down at 1/4 of a second, 1/4 of a second, handheld in low light, and they look crisp. I can't do that with the D850. I can't do it with the D5. I mean, that's incredible. So I've got to believe that the in-body image stabilization on the Z7 is pretty daggone good. That definitely makes a big difference in how you use the camera or when you would carry it, and especially for video. If you're going to be shooting video, it may not take the place of a 3-axis gimbal, but, I mean, if you can shoot stills down to 1/4 of a second, I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, anyway, that's the way I feel about it. The crop in 4K you talk about, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be as big an issue unless you want to do a lot of cropping, post-editing cropping of the video itself. And I don't know if it'll be a major issue there either, but the 120 in 720p, yeah, that I understand is an issue. I've never shot anything as far as video goes, anything other than at 24 or 30 frames per second, so I don't know that it's such a big deal for me. However, talking to my stepson, who does a lot of video, he does a lot of spoken word videos, that's a big deal for him, being able to get that slow-mo into his video. So it is a big deal, and a lot of people talked about that. Let's talk about this for just a second. A lot of pros, they didn't care if it had video, the Z7 or Z6. All they wanted was a D5 or D850 in that body, that small body, and mirrorless. Unfortunately, the market's changing. There are a whole lot more aspiring videographers out there than there are aspiring just photographers anymore. Did a video on what video means to us nowadays and how much video we consume. So Nikon was smart to jump on this and start working that into the cameras. They had nothing to lose. Canon has maybe a little bit to lose if they decide to really bring the video out in their mirrorless line. Saw a good video the other day, or actually it was a live stream with Caleb over at DSLR Video Shooter, and he was talking to, I can't remember who it was, Jim, I can't remember his last name, but they were talking about video, and Jim is a big Canon shooter, shoots with, I think, a C300, but he was talking about how the DSLRs and hybrids are faring in that professional market. A lot of B-roll being done on DSLRs, or has been for a while, and you can bet it will be done with the hybrid cameras or the mirrorless cameras. Hybrid, I guess, because you can do both. But Nikon did not do a good job in marketing these cameras to that demographic. The millennial demographic, and they're not the only ones, but they did not do a good job. They should have found influencers. I know they did have one that talked about social media and this and that, but some of these aspiring videographers, they should have brought any Nikon shooter, current Nikon shooter, into the game and done a lot more hyping the video into this and talking about what their target audience was. It probably would have dispelled a lot of the complaints from the pro segment. Pros probably would have turned their nose up to it and said, well, if it's a video camera, I don't want anything to do with it. But I guess, excuse me, I guess that they just missed the boat on their marketing there. So, all right. So, Coca-Cola, you say the Z6 is a better choice for you? Well, it is for me. And I'm not going to tell you that you should get one over the other. If you're already invested in any Nikon glass, then maybe Z6 is definitely the way to go. And the next iteration will be even better, but I don't think that the Z6 that we get our hands on in December, into November or December, is going to be bad at all. So, all right. Stalled a couple of times, but it's working. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I don't know. I got way too many things going on here. I'm feeding way too many phones and laptops and desktops and everything. My bandwidth is being eaten. All right. 19.4. There you go. Okay, thanks, Michael. Yeah. Still, obviously, plenty of resolution for anything you want to do. I mean, we shot with 12 megapixel for a long time and thought that was fantastic. So I'm not going to bang on high megapixel cameras. I think it's great. I love the ability to crop, but 20 megapixel, 24 megapixel, nothing wrong with that either. Well, again, this is why I got the Z6. What is preferred for video, Miss Amanda? Yeah, I see you changed your name. Well, you're just a changer here, I see. Well, if you're going to stick with Nikon, then I believe the Z6 will be the camera for you. It's going to be cheaper. That camera's starting at $2,000 or just $2,000. And you already have lenses, a few, and they will work. Even though they're DX, they'll work on that camera. You just get a crop factor, no big deal. And the thing is that the video in that's going to be much better than anything that you have right now. Especially since I know you're going to start live streaming for your business. So the Z6 would be my recommendation. If you're going to stay with Nikon, just wait. You could grab the Z7 now. It's a little bit more expensive. But the Z6 would suit your needs no problem at all. So, all right, folks. Well, I got a few subscribers since the last time I was on. Yeah, here we go. We're going to lose another feed. Sorry about that, folks. That's what happens when you're a one-man show and you got camera set up on tripods across the room and your video goes beyond the time limit. Oh, all right. So, let's see. How long have we been chatting? About 44 minutes, so that's not bad. Unless anybody has anything here, I'm going to wrap it up. Hey, I really appreciate everybody that dropped by. If there's anything you all want to talk about in the future, just drop it in the comments. I'll do my best to dig up what answers I can. I answered some questions that were in comments. Oh, the Tamron. I almost forgot. We have to address the Tamron issue. The guy I was talking about that I wanted to get in here to talk about, the camera has a Tamron 20. He has the old DI, not the G2, but the old DI. And I think he said that it did work. I can't remember now. He said it did work, but maybe there was a problem. I know the G2, everybody's talking about it, doesn't work. And I like how that's become Nikon's fault for some people, talking about how could Nikon do that. I mean, I just don't understand people. It's not Nikon's fault. Tamron, I think, is working on a fix. I don't know that it's a firmware fix. Some people are saying that it would be a hardware fix. I don't know. But and I understand too that if, it's not just about the image quality. A lot of people believe that it's so much better. The 24-70 is so much better than the Nikon 24-70. And maybe it is. But that's not the only issue. The other issue is the price, and that I understand. If you can't afford the Nikon 24-70, but you could pick up the Tamron for half price or even less, yeah, I understand that. But with that comes the possibility that there may be something that isn't going to work with a Nikon camera. It's just like batteries. I know I tried a long time ago buying some Watson batteries for my D800, and out of the 3 that I bought, 2 of them wouldn't work. Don't know why. I have no idea. Nikon clearly states using their batteries is the only way to go, and I guess I believe that somewhat. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I use all these different brand batteries and they work fine. And that's great if you can. It's not going to shouldn't cause a problem with the camera. But on the lenses, if a lens doesn't work with a Nikon body, it's not Nikon's fault. Nikon has equivalent lenses and you could buy Nikon, but I do understand that cost is often a factor. And I feel for you if you have you're heavily invested in some Tamron lenses, and the Z7 as of right now doesn't seem to play well with them with the FTZ adapter. So hopefully they'll get that fixed. It could be a showstopper for some people and say, well, I can't stick with the Nikon mirrorless with the FTZ adapter if it's not going to support my glass. I understand that. It didn't stop a lot of Sony people from jumping over to, or not Sony people, but Canon and Nikon shooters from jumping over to Sony and all the adapter problems that they had early on, and still not the best situation in the world. But anyway, I don't have an answer for anybody that's asked about will the Tamron lenses work or not. Only thing I can tell you is what I'm seeing people discuss, and as of right now there are some problems. Canon went through this with their 5D Mark IV with the Sigma lenses. I mean they got it resolved. Sigma did. I guess Sigma got it resolved, but even Canon folk were trying to blame their own camp that, how could Canon allow this to happen? Well, it's not Canon's fault. It's third-party lenses, and we get what we get, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, great. All right. And so you said that no one's talking about taking pictures while shooting a video. That feature alone is worth it for me. Yeah, I agree. And I'm in it for the video. I'll be right up front. I'll be honest. It's the video that I want. So I want to play with it. I want to do a lot more video. And I love the fact that with these new cameras, we'll be able to put it in AF and get a cinematic focus quality. I'm not going to have to pull focus. And if you're a one-man show, anybody out there that's a one-man show, you understand that, especially if you're going to be in front of the lens. Man, what a pain that is to try to get the, broad depth of field so that you can move a little bit without moving in and out of focus. And as my first video went, you can see that autofocus, even on the D850, it's there. But it does like to chatter. So anyway, that's definitely a big game changer for me, is the autofocus in these new cameras. So anyway, drop a comment before you go, or even later on a day and a time that would be best for you guys. I'll see what I can do, and I'd like to get a weekly chat going if you can stand on my blathering. And we'll see what we can do to make this a lot more fun. I'll try to find somebody next time, get them to call in. We'll put them on the live stream, and we'll talk to them about their experience with the camera. And if anybody that's listening or was listening wants to do that as well, by all means, again, go to my email, send me an email. I think it's the easiest way to do this right now. And I'll link up with you, and we'll talk about hooking you up on a live stream here so that you can chat to the audience as well. I figured that out the other day. I'm running this through a mixer recorder, a little task cam. It's in the description in my videos. And I have two Sony lav mics, or wireless lavs, and I took one and put this little bitty, well, I'll just show you the whole thing here. So here's the transmitter, and here's the lightning connector. And I can put the lightning connector into the iPhone and have the audio go over through the recorder, so everybody in the audience is hearing the conversation go on. I can hear the conversation as well. We can chat, and you guys could answer or ask questions of whoever it is. Maybe I'll give some of my famous people contacts a call and see if they would want to sit down and talk. Let's see. Yeah, I do have to have a talk with my wife. A one-woman show? No, she will not get in front of the camera, Michael. She's beautiful, but she will not get in front of the camera. I think I have 2 pictures in the last 11 years of her. She will not get in front of the camera. That's not her thing, so, but I appreciate it. She'll get a chuckle out of that comment, too. All right, folks, I guess that's about it. We're almost to an hour here. Sorry about the cameras dropping off. Maybe that won't be an issue with the Z series cameras. We'll see. If you've got any special requests or whatever, any questions that you have, I'll see what I can do to answer them over the next few days. And anything you'd like to see in a video. Oh, one little thing here. I'm thinking about doing a video. I have the impact vary poles. I don't know if anybody knows what those are, but they're upright stands. They brace between the ceiling and the floor. You put a crossbar on it so you can set a studio up anywhere that you have a ceiling. It's great mobile, great for an in-home studio, easy up, easy down. And I thought about doing a video on how easy that is to set up and shoot with it. Drop your backdrop off the crossbar, and man, you're up and running in somebody's house or your own in-house studio or whatever. If you'd like to see that, just let me know, and I'll see if I can't put together a video showing how I set it up and everything else. And I also just started shooting through Savage Translume. It's a diffusion material, but I backlight it, and it gives me an absolute pure white background. Much easier. One light will give me a pure white background. And so much easier than trying to light a white backdrop and getting it even. So anyway, I could throw that in there as well. So anybody thinks they'd be interested, let me know, and I'll do a video on it, or I could do a quick live stream one night setting it up and showing you. An external recorder with a Z. Yeah, exactly. And that's a good, you're absolutely right, Michael. I have my eye on the, all right, tell my wife to turn her phone off here real quick. I have my eye on the new Atomos Ninja 5. At least I know one camera would continuously run, so I wouldn't have to worry about that if the other feeds dropped out. But so that might be something coming up in the future too. We'll see. Maybe it's only $30. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. It's great that you commented. I don't know how entertaining or informative this is, but we'll try to make it better. Until next time, thanks for stopping by. God bless.